Thank you. My name is Olga Novo Ubebo. I am the managing partner at Ikore International Development. Ikore is a development consulting firm that's in the business of coming up with innovative solutions, working with relevant stakeholders to address social and economic problems in Nigeria. And we typically do this by using a system thinking approach where we try to understand the root cause of a problem and working with relevant stakeholders, designing solutions that are aligned to their motivations and their incentives. We're able to facilitate change while not being part of that system. Women are particularly limited in that women are structurally disadvantaged when it comes to production, productivity, and particularly for agriculture. Less than 10% of women have access to credit. Let me put things to perspective. First off, up to 50% of our population is about women. Women constitute about 50% of the population and about 60% of the agricultural workforce. So imagine people who are mostly running the agricultural space, but are limited to low productive parts of the chain where they only provide their labor. They don't have access to land, neither do they have access to credit. And this comes from three major areas, if I put it that way. There is the issue of the environmental barriers they face, there are social barriers they face, there are institutional barriers, land ownership. And if you don't have land and you don't have the resources, you can't develop the land, that has direct impact on your ability to access credit. In order to access credit or finance, as you put it, it requires you providing collateral. Because women, this is generalizing, speaking about women in agriculture, because of their limited productivity and structural inequality that they face, being able to provide the collateral they need for such land, for such credit, is unavailable. And I think a confounder there also is the fact that with your limited opportunities as a woman, because if you look at the social aspect, women tend to be more burdened. They have less social network to support them to be able to access education, particularly married women. As a woman becomes married, she's more isolated, so that social network where you can have access to information, that support system that their contemporaries as males will have, they do not have it. So you are even deeper excluded as a woman. So you don't have the network, you can't acquire the right skills you need to be able to raise your earning power and your productivity. Therefore, it has that vicious effect on your ability to access finance and access credit. Overcoming those barriers require a number of things, from the policy angle where you prioritize and design for women, not designing for women in their absence, but bringing women into the center of your design. So, as the MasterCard Foundation would say, women-centric design, putting them at the heart of it. There will be regional differences. When you come to the south, it's a different type of kettle of fish. When you go to the north, it's different. Therefore, putting the woman at the center of the design and bringing her to the table when you are designing helps you understand the full extent to the challenges that the woman is having. That's one. Secondly, if you have put in policies in place that are looking at how to drive inclusion for women and breaking those barriers, the next step is really executing those policies. And translating those policies to action requires that from a financial standpoint, you have tailored products that are addressing those three issues that a woman would face. One, she doesn't have access to information, So whatever product you're putting out there, you have to factor in the issue of how to get the women to know and see. The second part is the skills. You can have money if you don't have the enterprise skills to translate that money into revenue, then you will fail at it. So it's information, the skills, and then the finance. The finance can come in different ways. If you keep building on or putting out collateralized products, women will continually be excluded. So finding a different ways of offering guarantees and managing the risk associated, with financing will help you break that barrier. The evidence already suggests that women are better at paying off loans, so the issue of the supposed risks that women pose as borrowers is not as high, it's more perceived than actual. So if you consider these three things in designing, there is a very high chance that you will break that barrier. Two things. One, generating the evidence that programming organizations need to be able to design appropriately for women and with women. So we do a lot of research, behavioral research that helps you know what specific issues women are having. Is it a social barrier that they are facing that needs to be broken? Is it an environmental, or is it an institutional barrier that's stopping a woman from participating? And then the second thing is that we test some of those ideas. When we get the evidence, we test it. One of our notion is that enterprise training combined with the inputs that a woman needs are the two things you require to be able to drive that access. And so we have a concept that we are testing right now. We've been testing it for over 2-3 years now. It's called the in-kind financing model. The in-kind financing model combines enterprise training in a particular endeavor or sector that a woman wants to get involved with providing input for the woman to start a business. What this does for the woman is it gives them the skill they need and the information, which is one of the barriers they have to face, and combines it with the initial startup capital or startup kits they need to get the business running. And we do a bit of hand-holding over the cycle of the business. We follow them through 2 to 3 cycles where they would now be confident enough to engage with market, engage with actors, and be able to thrive in that business. Our end game for that is to be able to prove to financial institutions that you can finance women and they are low-risk individuals because they are able to pay back. The in-kind financing is a returnable loan or grant per se. So if you're designing for women access to finance products, you should be considering one, the skills they need to be able to run it profitably, and so it should be included or embedded. And two, there's also the hand-holding because there'll be risks on the way because it's a new terrain, and factor that risk into some type of measure, whether it's insurance or really just the hand-holding part. If you're at a level like me where you have gained some experience, I encourage you to mentor a lot of other women, to break that barrier. Women can do it. You can do it. The more you see people who you can engage with that are in the space, you can do it. For those that are, at the grassroots and needing support and assistance, I think my call really is to policymakers, women at the helm of affairs and the places of authority. You need to start thinking about designing for women, with women, not in their absence. And the more you do those types of design, heads of banks, women are trustworthy, you can invest in women and get your returns in good time. So I encourage you to get women to be at the center of your products, your new product designs, and test those things with your risk properly, calculated and incorporated into those types of products. Happy Women's Month. Together we can break those barriers.